Just the two of us.
Yay, we are live. Just the two of us. What's up? What's up? What's up? It's Wednesday night. It's time for Hits and Heels. Welcome to Hits and Heels. I am Coach Terry Bryant, your host for tonight. And let me tell y'all something. So y'all know I started this maybe you don't know. If you're just now tuning in for the first time, I'm a football coach, and I started Hits and Heels because there are no female football coaches. And I also coach a women's tackle football team. I coach middle school with my husband. And that's why I started the podcast, to kind of put the word out for women's tackle football. But prior to that, I was a sports mom. And I was also became a coach as well. So one day, just the story. One day, I was struggling with my identity and where I was going. I was at a place where I was stuck. And so at that time, Eric E.T. Thomas was one of the people that I was watching on YouTube as motivation, because he's like the best motivational speaker that's out right now, right? And so he said to go take this assessment. It's called what's it called?
The flight assessment.
The flight assessment. And so when I signed up for this assessment and I took this assessment, my coach was Miss Jamesetta Cleveland. And as we were talking and we just got into a conversation, then she told me that she had this community called the Sports Mom University. I thought it was just right up my alley. And so, of course, I joined her group. And let me tell you something. She been my A1 since day one. You hear me? She's been my A1 since day one. So, okay, so before NIL, and I'm talking about this, it's been years now. So yes. Before NIL came along, she was already on the forefront of NIL. Like, she already was on top of every state that was bringing it out, what the regulations were, you know, what the stipulations were, how it affected you with NCAA, all of that. Before anybody else was doing it. So there's a whole lot of people that's on the NIL tip now. But let me tell you something. She was one of the first ones that was on there that was doing it. So that's who my guest is tonight. She is the founder of Sports Mom University, and she is a NIL brand strategic ambassador and all that good stuff. But she was also one of the coaches for Eric Thomas's flight assessment program. And so Jamesetta, one more thing. This is my 83rd episode, and she should have been my first guest to start my podcast, because everything stems from her, and most of the stuff that I know I got from her, and everything I piggyback off from her. I even started my own Facebook group called the Lexington Family Sports Network, and it is a subsidiary of Sports Mom University. So listen, thank you for finally coming on, sis.
You are very welcome. I'm honored that you had me. It's really funny. I remember that coaching session, right? It's been 4 years and we have been friends since then. I'm still using the assessment, still an extreme execution certified coach, using it differently than other coaches. But yeah, gosh, golly. And you're absolutely right. We've been doing this NIL thing since before day one. My curriculum that I designed, and from scratch, mind you, it came out in June of 2021, but we'd been doing the work for a while before then. So yeah, it's been a while. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited. So let's have a conversation.
I'm excited. Okay, so y'all gonna have to be patient, because we have never gotten on the phone and it's not a 2 or 3 hour conversation. But I promise you, I will respect y'all's time today and try to keep it within the hour.
We're gonna be mindful. I'm always mindful on the podcast, because
okay. I'm gonna be mindful on the podcast, but so we might have to, we might have to stop it and then do a part 2 or something like that
If you want them to come back,
at a later time. Okay.
we gotta respect their time if you want them
You
to come
gotta
back.
respect it. Absolutely. So listen, let me share this. Sports parents, get on. Time in. So let's get started. So tell everybody your story. Let's hear about my nieces and nephews and how you got started with the Sports Family University and why you started that, why you founded that.
So I would say I'm Jamesetta Cleveland. I'm the founder of Sports Farm University Consulting, and I founded something called the Sports Family Network. And it really I have a consulting firm because of my life. When my son was younger, I'm going to talk about my son, but I want everyone to know all my kids had to play a sport. Like in my house, if you're a kid I gave birth to, you had to have you had an academic standard. You had to play a sport because you weren't going to be a couch potato. I grew up, we were outside all the time. And so I was like, oh, I'm not going to have couch potatoes. You had to do some type of service and you had to do something artistic. And so I put my son in football and I put my daughters in cheerleading because I wanted them to have Black male role models. And I knew that there were Black men who were honorable around football. And so my son was always the smallest and he would always be told, you're too small, you're too small. So one day, he was maybe between 7 and 9. He came to me and he said, Mom, I'm going to play football in college. And I said, okay. And he meant it. He meant it. For him, he's contrary like his mama. And he said, I'm going to prove everybody wrong. They always tell me I'm too small. He's fast. But he was too small. He said, I'm going to play Division 1. I'm going to play football in college. And he stuck to that. And so we started this journey. When he started playing football, he was 5 when he went to the Air Force Academy. Because fun fact, God is faithful. And so he did play Division 1 football in the Mountain West. He started all 4 years for the Air Force Academy, graduated in 2019. And when we were going through the journey, I couldn't find anybody who really was like me because I was raising my kids that they could stop sports anytime they wanted to. It wasn't something they had to do. It was just something that they did because they wanted. And so everybody wanted to train my kids and they wanted me to pay them for the recruiting process, but just to come along and say, how do you raise an athlete who understands that sports is what they do, not who you are? I couldn't find that. So I'm a researcher and a reader. And so I was doing all this research and reading and I realized that there were other parents like me. None of us wanted to raise our kids to be football players or cheerleaders. We wanted to raise young men and women of character. And so along the way, I would teach little classes. Moms would have questions, and I would, if you were listening to this, I collect people. And eventually, my people need each other, and I put them together. So I would have moms that would have questions, and people that I knew in the sports world who could answer those questions. So I started doing these little things. And then my son graduated from the Air Force Academy in 2019. And when he graduated, I took a sabbatical. I did what was called an adventure year. And I said, for 1 year, I'm not going to do anything I don't want to do. I'm never going to set an alarm clock. I'm only going to do the things that make me happy. And I did an event called High School Football Mom 101. And people showed up, they bought tickets. And someone said to me, the basic part of business is having something people are willing to pay for. You should really think about this little idea that you have called Sports Farm University. You should pray and ask God if that's the thing that you're supposed to do. And so I prayed and God sent me some confirmations. And so I've been on this journey since 2019 of building Sports Mom University Consulting and having a community online where parents can get together and tell their stories. We have so much wisdom and we don't have a place to go to tell it. There's something that you are like, I kid you not, I was on a podcast last week and one of the moms on the podcast is also a Wildcat mom. Her son is JJ Weaver. And I was like, oh, you need to know my friend Terry. So I'm going to get you guys together. Yes. See, it's like I'm like, oh, my people, they go
We
together.
probably don't know each other's names, but we've met.
And
Mm-hmm.
so I have my consulting firm because it just was an outcropping of my life. And then a few years ago, I thought that my son would get some NIL money. So I was like researching so that because I was quite sure that they were going to do NIL, that it was going to be legal before he graduated. So I was,
Okay.
you know, and my cousin was in the first NCAA football. He actually received like a little bit of a settlement when they stopped when they stopped making the game. So I was like, oh, it's going to come back. They're going to find a way to bring it back, and my son is going to be one of the ones to get money. He graduated in May of 2019, and California passed the Fair Pay to Play Act in September of 2019. They were the first state to say that college athletes can receive money for their athletic name, image, and likeness. And I had noticed that there are no parents in in the name, image, and likeness space. The most concerning thing to me is the lack of parents. If you go and look at all the congressional hearings, I go to meetings about athletes in finance. I go to meetings about athletes in marketing and branding and all this stuff. There are no parents. And
Mm.
fun fact, if you're listening to this, whether you listen to this live or on the replay, the only group that has to deal with name, image, and likeness, every aspect of it, be it good or bad, is the athlete and their family. If your athlete does some type of name, image, and likeness activity, and they make a lot of money, but they forget to pay their taxes because they've never paid taxes before, and they don't know, who they're not going to be able to go to. They can't go to their coach or their school and say, "Help me pay my back taxes." They're gonna come home to you. If they sign a deal that is terrible, they're going to come home to mom and dad because you're going to be the person that helps them find an attorney. You're going to be like, so it bothers me that to this day, parents are not a part of the equation when it comes to when it comes to NIL education, because every parent should know things and they should have enough knowledge to manage their child if they choose to. So I created a name, image, and likeness curriculum that is for sports parents by a sports parent. And that part of my consulting firm has like just taken off. I do a lot of name, image, and likeness stuff. I play in the unsexy space where I help athletes understand who they are and how they prefer to show up in the world so that they can have an identity outside of sports. And if you know who you are outside of sports and if you know how you prefer to show up, then you can build a brand that businesses want to actually be a part of. And you can actually launch your own business. That unsexy space of helping athletes build from scratch, I play in that space. Most people want an athlete that's already ready made. They want one that's
Mm.
already popular. They want one that's already a big name because it's very easy to market someone who
Because
already
yeah,
has.
everybody already knows them and they already have a huge following.
And so I play in that unsexy space of saying, okay, what are you building? And can you build something that lasts until you're 70 or 80 or 90? And so
Mm.
it's a lot of work, but I love what I do. The best part is helping athletes understand they have power and they should move like businesses because they are businesses.
Gotcha. Okay, so I want to go to a post that you made yesterday, I think. And I think it's like the beginning. What is the first thing? Of course, the first thing that most athletes or parents need to know is how to set up their social media. Or is
Um,
there a step before that besides being a great student athlete first?
well, actually, you don't have to be a great student athlete first.
Okay.
The very first step they really need to do is to unlearn what they think they know about name image.
Okay.
And
And
here's
what is the biggest myth or what are some of the mistakes that they're thinking that they know that they need to unlearn?
the biggest myth is thinking that what they see is actually name, image, and likeness. What people like without getting too deep into it, name, image, and
Okay.
likeness is about business. And you can tell me how far you'd like me to go. So in a nutshell, it's there's three aspects to name, image, and likeness. It's businesses that are based on athletes, like TVs or actual
Mhm.
ticket sales. Like if athletes don't play, there's nothing on TV, there's nothing in the stadium. So there are legitimately businesses that are based on athletes. There are businesses that athletes can now start themselves, because prior to July 1st of 2021, if you were a student athlete legally, they were the only part of the country that couldn't take advantage of their name, image, and likeness. And so they had to have permission to start a business, and they didn't get waivers very often. And the third aspect of NIL is having brand partnerships. And most people call that a deal. But what people understood is they don't understand how to really get brand partnerships. They don't understand how to put together a one pager, how to build a portfolio, how to allow your social media to to be a digital resume and tell a story, not just that you play, but what's the story of your life. So because they don't know how to do that. But
Mhm.
what people do understand is they understand something called inducements, and they understand pay for play. So you're a big name. You're a big name, and because I want you to come to my school, I'm going to give you some money. A lot of what people call NIL is really just legalized inducements and paper play. It is,
Okay.
who are the biggest names, and how do we get enough money to get the biggest names to our schools? That was around before. That's not what true name, image,
Nothing new.
is. And so I tell people you need to know the difference between NIL and inducements and paper play, because most of
Mm.
what you're saying is not NIL. And because of that, most people believe you got to be a big name or you got to be athletically talented in order to make the most money. That's not true at all. The king of NIL, like, don't get me wrong, there are big names who do make money.
Right.
Um, but the actual king of NIL, the one who has probably the most deals that I've ever seen, I think right now he has about 100, is a kid named Raekwon Smith. And he started off by negotiating his own deals. And he goes to Virginia State, makes a killing. Most people have no idea who he is. Most people have never seen
Never
him.
heard of.
Thank you. But he has more deals than anyone else. He's done NIL so well that he is now offering his own agency to teach athletes how to negotiate for themselves. So the first thing you have to do is really unlearn um, what the common misconception is. And I would say the other thing that people don't do well is you don't realize you are a business. And the basic real thing about being a business is, can people contact you? And that is the post yesterday.
Girl, because why I go to Ty's page and he didn't have his information on there on how to book him. So I sent him your post and was like, I need you to read this and take action on what the heck she's saying
Today, not tomorrow, today.
today.
So
Today,
so they all want money, but they
yes.
don't want to be contacted. When I talk to business owners, the number one reason they want schools to get involved in NIL, and the number one reason they like being part of collectives, is because they can't get in touch with athletes. They can't. And
Mm.
I did a test. I got a sample of 4,744 email addresses for college football players at different levels. And I did this test last year in early 2023. I sent every single one of them an email, and every one of them that has social media on Twitter and on Instagram, I dived into their DMs and said, "Hey, I have a business opportunity for you. Please respond. Shoot me an email at." And when I tell you that out of 4,744 contacts, 40 people actually responded back. So when I say athletes want money, but they haven't done the basic thing of updating your social media page to say, how can you contact somebody
Contact me. Yeah.
for booking inquiries? So fun free fact, guys, Google Gmail email accounts are free. Go get you a professional titled free
Yes.
Gmail account, and then go to all of your social media and put
And
in
update
there
it and say
for
booking. This
for
is how you
booking
book me.
inquiries or for business inquiries, contact me at and put the email address. If a business cannot get in touch with you, they can't offer you money. They can't hire you. And so no one should have to go to a coach or a collective to figure out how to get in touch with you. That's just the basic thing. And if you go and look at most, you go
Oh,
and
I
look,
know. My own son's was not updated.
and here's how simple it is to miss money. Part of what I do at Sports Mom University is I create what's called the Sports Mom University Preferred Partner Network. And it's a series of businesses and professionals who have services that athletes and their families need. And I go make sure that the people are people of integrity and they won't charge my people more just because they're athletes. Because some people
Mhm.
feel like, oh, athletes have money. So I might charge a regular person $200, but because someone's an athlete for the same thing, I'm going to charge them 400. And I don't like
Oh,
that. So
right.
I make sure that the people who are a part of my preferred network, that they're going to treat my sports families with integrity and honor, and they're not going to overcharge them. So one of my preferred partners was watching the March Madness, and he noticed that one of the boys playing has the same last name as his business. And so he reached out to me and he said, I know you have athletes. Let me know if you can set up a meeting with this particular athlete because I want to talk to him about doing a marketing deal. This happened on Tuesday. I went to the kid's social media. Guess what he has? He has an agent, and the agent had him update his social media. So it says for booking inquiries, contact, and there's an email address. Send an email to his marketing company. Said, hey, this is what we're thinking of doing. Can I set up a meeting? What times work for you? They responded back within 2 hours. By the close of business yesterday, I have a meeting set up. We're going to meet with the kid, his team, and my colleague from my preferred partner network, and we're going to start working a deal. That's how simple it is. A
Wow.
business owner can see you on TV. Say, dang, that's my last name right there. Wonder if I can get in touch. Let me see if I know somebody. That's how simple it is. And the kid's either going to say yes or he's going to say no. I mean, the deal's going to be worth anywhere from 5 to 20,000, just kind of depends on what we decide to do. But still, it all came because they saw him on TV and he had a valid
Mhm.
contact email.
Get out of
Y'all
here.
are truly missing money. You're
It's
really
just
missing
that
money.
simple by just having your contact information. So can you I know you charge for this information because it's all in your curriculum and stuff, but can you tell the parents exactly what needs to be on their social media? Because so many parents, athletes are getting it wrong, especially with these crazy names where you go to their page and you don't even know what the heck their name is.
So let me say this. I still do at least 2 free NIL classes every month. And I'll
Okay.
email you if they use my link tree and go down to the part where it says register for a class. I do
Mm-hmm.
2 free NIL basic classes. It's called NIL from a sports mom's perspective on Thursdays at 8 p.m. Central because I want you guys to be home from work. There's a class coming up tomorrow on the 4th, and there's another class coming up on the 18th. So if you want to get the basics of NIL and understand what NIL really means and how to move appropriately, come to a free class. I charge for organization, strategy, but the basics, the things that people need to know to stay out of trouble, I give that away because for me, you give away things that are life changing or life saving. So still 2 free classes every month, always on a Thursday, so you guys can tap in. I would say first and foremost, when it comes to social media, stop treating it like entertainment.
Yes.
Treat it like a business. It is your digital resume. It is your digital neighborhood. Um, your social media handle, your real name should be somewhere in there. So my social media handle is sports underscore mom underscore you, but you can see Sports Mom University Consulting, Jamesetta Cleveland. I'm easy to find. So one, have your proper name so that a business owner can know that they are reaching out to the right person. And your social media handle needs to be the same on all platforms, with the exception of LinkedIn, because LinkedIn doesn't have nicknames. It's your proper name. But like, even if you don't plan on being on certain platforms, I'm never going to be on Snapchat, but I have Sports Mom U at Snapchat. You want to be easy to find because you don't know where a business owner may look for you. So whatever your social media handle is, make sure you find it and you set it up on Twitter, on Instagram, on Snapchat, on TikTok. Be your government name on Facebook and on LinkedIn, but be easy to find and be consistent, and use your proper name because it's important. There's a kid, I'm actually gonna butcher his name. He was at LSU. It's not B. John Robinson. The kid's name escaped me, but he didn't have his proper name. Someone else had his proper name on Twitter, and they were
Mhm.
always tweeting things that were controversial. So this kid spent a lot of time saying, "Hey, that's not me. That's not me.
Mhm.
That's not me. That's not me." Businesses don't often look beyond the surface. They look
Right.
they just Google your name, bunch of controversial stuff comes up. He was missing money because he didn't do something simple. He wanted a nickname instead of his proper name. You're a
Mhm.
business, so everyone should understand that if you're an athlete, whether you're a high school athlete, a college athlete, a middle school athlete, a professional athlete, you're a business. Make sure you secure your proper name first before any nickname. Then you want to secure it on all platforms. And if you're going to use a nickname, make sure it's the same. I'm Sports Mom U on Instagram, on Twitter, on Threads. It's spelled exactly the same. So that's one of the biggest mistakes people make. They're not easy to find and they're not easy to contact. So they're not consistent across platforms, and they are not they don't have a valid contact information. And please, there are tons of businesses that want to do business with you. If you would just simply update your profile,
Update your information.
make your D, make it
Ain't no telling how
a.
much money my baby done missed out on because he does not have his booking information on his social media account.
And he was one of the top freshmen, a lot. And you want to, and
Number,
unfortunately,
number one top in the whole state of Kentucky, right? Yeah.
yeah, and you got to check your DMs as well because they have like there's the
Oh, the little
primary,
filtered,
and yeah,
yeah, and the filtered
you got to check.
boxes and stuff that don't.
You got to check the hidden ones. I like. There's so many ways that act, but it's simple because they're all on social media, right? They're on
Right.
social media every day. They're just thinking of it as, oh, this is entertainment. No, it's not entertainment.
Hmm.
Business, and also success leaves clues, parents. Whether you like him or not, Deion Sanders is giving a master class on NIL every day, and you should go
Every
out and listen.
day.
And here's one of the things I would say. He has recognized what most people don't understand. Every social media platform has set aside money for creators. And creators, we're all creators. Every time we post something, we're creating content. But athletes are considered creators, especially because athletes have a built in following. Whether the athlete is 5 or whether the athlete is 55, they have a following, and people will stay on a social media platform to see what the athlete is doing. So you have social media platforms that have the last time I checked, Instagram alone has budgeted $1 billion with a B to pay platform creators. And one of the things that Deion Sanders is good about understanding, well, I won't say it's not him, it's his son Bucky.
It's
Deion
the
Sanders,
sun bucket. Yeah.
and he says it's Bucky. Bucky understands the standards for each sort of social media platform and what they need to meet for monetization. For example, if you're a person that's on Instagram, if you have 10,000 followers, you can monetize. And what that means is people can start putting ads in your stories. They will start putting ads in your content because they know, hey, you're going to keep people are going to look at your stuff. And so You get paid off of ad revenue. You get something called badges. People, if you go live or do things, you can actually, people can buy badges and it's like a digital tip. Or you get the opportunity to get what's called a gift. If at a certain point, if you do a reel or something, it'll have an option where people can actually give you a quote unquote gift. You have to meet the standard. There are people that literally, I was looking at Country Wayne, and he said he provided receipts. He was making over $100,000 a month just off his Instagram. Well, athletes have instant credibility and they have an instant following. They just don't treat social media like a business. So they're not saying, well, do I want to engage? Do I want to give people something to look at? Do I want to meet the standard? And one of the things Deion Sanders does is he makes sure that whether they accept it or not, every player on his team has all the tools that they need to meet the monetization standards on YouTube, on TikTok, and on Instagram.
Wow. Okay, so one of my favorite guests that's all one of my favorite followers is Mr. Brown. He always comes with the best questions. And he wants to know, is it difficult to contact the executive that would approve the NIL initiative, particularly in corporate America?
I'm going to make sure I understand your question. Are you saying, is it difficult to find the right person at a company who would authorize an NIL campaign or who would hire an athlete? Is that your question?
Let's go with that question. Let's go with it.
So I would say it's not if you know what you're looking for.
Okay, so how do you look?
You want to look for. So let me just say this: if you're an athlete who's in college right now, there is something called NIL marketplaces. There are websites that already have deals preloaded for you, and the deals, they have the name of the person who's a part of the marketing company. So one, take advantage of marketplaces. Marketplaces are most of them are free. Some of them may cost maybe $10. So one, take advantage of marketplaces. But no, if you look for someone who's in marketing, or if you know a contact at a company, typically NIL initiatives, you want to look for someone who's in marketing, not public relations, someone who's in marketing. And most of the times for most companies, you can go to the internet and they'll have a company directory to let you know who's in marketing. Now you may have to pick up the phone or send an email and ask. And also you may have to educate companies because there are still literally thousands of companies that don't understand that they can now hire athletes. Believe it or not, there's still thousands of them. So is it hard to find the person? No. One, be mindful, looking for someone in marketing. You can use marketplaces to your advantage. I'm going to tell y'all a little free game. There are people who are popping up and they're calling themselves NIL agents. And really, they're not. They're just logging into marketplaces. They're getting marketplace accounts. They're going in there and they're looking to see what deals are sitting in the marketplaces. And then they'll go to athletes and they'll say, hey, I got these deals for you. They don't have deals. They just have marketplace. And so they're going to charge, marketing agents charge anywhere from 5% to 40% of a deal. So they're charging you 40% or 20% or 5%, saying they went to find you a deal. Nah, you could have actually got that for free and kept all the money. But that just goes to show you, remember when I said earlier, people understood inducements. They understood big names bringing money. So if you're waiting for somebody to bring you money, you don't go look for it. You just assume that everybody's going to come. So to answer your question, Mr. Brown, no. And a great place, depending upon where you are, a great place to start is your Chamber of Commerce. Because they have a list typically of all the businesses. You just want to find the marketing director or you want to find the owner. And then just go ask, hey, can I do business? Real simple.
Gotcha. So Sean Gerton is an official, great friend of mine also, and he says, what do you tell parents and athletes about taxes?
It depends. So if they're dealing with a collective, because some of my community, in addition to my clients, have deals with collectives, and they're getting nice chunks of change. I tell them have the collective withhold. So if I have someone that's getting 30 grand from a collective, okay, make sure they withhold at least 30%. Let them withhold 10 grand, because it's better to have people withhold more and you get a credit back than they don't withhold enough. And when I say
Yeah.
withhold, it's not that they're your employer. What they're doing is it is possible when you're a business to prepay your taxes in advance. And so some of that
You
money
can
that
pay
you
quarterly
get,
tax.
yeah. So what you want to do, if the collective is paying you, because the collective doesn't give you a lump sum, they typically give them money every month. Make sure the collective is also setting something aside for taxes, so you'll have that. They're withholding it from you so that when tax season comes, you have it in an account and you can go pay your taxes. I tell
Almost
people,
like an escrow account, like, or a savings account or something. Okay, gotcha.
so if you're dealing with the collective, have the collective withhold a portion of it in an account.
Okay.
That way you never touch it, you never see it. And I typically tell people most of the time student athletes are young and they have zero exemptions, so they're paying the highest tax rates. And so I tell people to think luxury tax rates and to put aside at least 30 to 40%. Uncle Sam is one of the people you just don't want to play with. I've been audited before, and it's like, dang, oh, the IRS is never going out of business. So put aside at least 30%, because most student athletes, they can only write off, and they're probably not paying interest. Like if they could, it would be the interest for student loans that they may have gotten, but they don't have
Right.
kids. They don't have kids, so they don't get daycare. They don't
Yeah.
earn income. They don't have a mortgage, so they don't
Right.
really have any exemptions. They should do a schedule
Schedule
C,
C.
because they are independent contractors. So they want to keep all their receipts and things of that nature. But at least put aside 30%. That will save you, because after and parents, talk to your kids about when it comes to taxation, they have to understand that they're in business. So if you're going to an autograph signing, that's mileage. You're going to work. If you're going to a photo shoot, you're going to work. So when they're going to do NIL activities, make sure that I use Mile IQ for my mileage. So y'all, this might be more than y'all want to know. Make sure they have an app to track their mileage.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure they're using some kind of app to track every dime that they spend, because they're not going to remember that they bought pens or pencils, or they don't even think of those as office supplies.
Mm-hmm.
They don't think about, hey, I took a personal development, like for example, my classes. On professional development, for some people that's a write-off, so you have to teach them how to think about taxes. But never fear, friends. I have a workshop called Building a Legacy, and you can get it on the replay. And there's a whole section that's devoted to for student athletes, because um, this is where kids get caught up. And I'm going to say this in an artful way. I can't speak about other people's families, but I can speak about my own. Sometimes people used to borrow children. I have 4. I'm gonna give somebody 1. Have the conversation with your sons and daughters about who claims them, because this is something that I taught in my very first class. These kids have never filed taxes before, or they're unfamiliar with filing taxes. If you and your sister have a cadence where you claim 2 of your children and she claims the same kid, she's going to go do her taxes as normal. And this kid is going to go do his taxes and say, I made 15 grand. I made 10 grand. I made 50 grand. Some of my kids in my community, they're making 80 grand a month. They're making a nice chunk of change when it comes to collectives and, depending upon what they've built. So it's coming out in the wash that that some families have been doing tax fraud. So have the conversation with everybody to say, no, we're not claiming nobody this year. This kid got to be prepared to claim themselves. Don't do what you have been accustomed to doing, because it is a new world. They are independent contractors, and that is one of the things. Depending upon the community, I see, like, you have people who were divorced and they do every other year, and the dad
Yes.
doesn't, the parent who doesn't live in the house doesn't realize that the kid, oh, that one, who claims you, who can claim you, and having that conversation, have that tonight. Like, have it tonight. April 15th is coming. Have it tonight.
So Mr. Brown says, does the sponsor generate a 1099 financial form? The IRS is a difficult federal agency that wants their tax dollars.
So this is where treating yourself like a business has to happen. Kids need to ask in advance. They need to say, I'm doing this. I need a 1099. And they need to get their 1099 as soon as they receive payment. Because what I am finding is that kids don't think of it. And so then you have business owners reaching out to kids in their DMs saying, hey, here's your little tax information. And so not everybody knows to generate a 1099 as soon as the activity is complete. People scramble during tax season.
That's good information right there. I didn't know that one either.
Yeah, you want your 1099 as soon as possible. You want it as soon as possible. As soon as my final payment hits, I want my 1099.
Okay.
And I want it in email.
Gotcha.
And I want it in a secure, encrypted email because it has my personal information on there.
In a secure, encrypted email.
And
Girl, that's good stuff.
You want it as soon as possible because in tax season, we're all scrambling and we forget.
Yeah, trying to find out all of the 1099s and W-2s and all that type of stuff. That is good information.
If you didn't keep if you're not a good record keeper, you could miss a deal.
Yeah, absolutely.
You don't have a 1099, and then the IRS be like, oh, you owe taxes and penalties.
Right. Okay. Now he says, are mom and pop companies more approachable? For instance, they may own 20 donut shops and want the NIL sponsor. Are they more accessible?
Here's the answer to that question. You want the company that aligns with who the athlete is and how they prefer to show up in the world and with their digital resume. You cannot, whether I'm a big company or a small company, you can't come over here telling me you want to be my donut representative and I only see you eating cake. Or you on your email, you're on your social media talking about some flat tummy tea. Like, baby, no, those are incongruent with each other.
Right.
So people need to understand that social media is a digital resume. It should tell a story. And if I am going to do business with a company, the easiest company to do business with is one that I understand that they're trying to sell something to a specific group of people. And I'm one of the group of people. So when I'm going to sit down with the mom and pop company that has 20 donut shops, well, I need to be going to tell them about their donuts. Hey, I come here on this day at this time and at this flavor. And the one on Broad Street, they don't act right like the one on West Avenue. Like, you need to make it so that they're like, oh, this ain't just money. This kid they actually use my product. They eat here. And I would say mom and pop has a shorter decision-making cycle because they're the owners. Anytime you deal with a small business, the decision maker is typically in front of you. When you're trying to deal with the Nike or a Blue Cross Blue Shield, the larger the business, the longer the decision-making cycle, because they have more people involved in making a decision. Or sometimes large businesses, they only do budget at the beginning of the fiscal year. They may say once a year, we have a marketing budget, and once the dollars are gone, they're gone. And if you're not one of the people that are up front getting the dollars, or you're not a part of a particular campaign that they have in mind, you may have to wait until the next year. So if you can get a medium-sized business or a small business that's in your local area, you're typically going to get the business owner. You want to go, I recommend everyone think about things that you need and use and places that you currently go. And those are the natural affinity. There's a place here called Pueblo. It's a Mexican restaurant. They at the bomb. They got quesadilla. Their queso is amazing. I could go in there and get a deal, because let me tell you something. I know about the queso. I know they have a shirt. You know what I'm saying? So businesses want to know that you actually are interested in
their product.
Your home.
Gotcha.
This is your question.
That was a great question as well. But check this question out. She said, do you find that the NIL initiative is African American friendly, and like that blacks dominate college sports? Racism seemingly has not reared its ugly head regarding the financial benefit gained by these athletes.
Money is always green. Money's only green. And I'm going to say this.
If they can use you to sell their product, they're going to use you. They don't care what color you are.
Let me say this. Most people do not understand this. There are a plethora of college sports, but there are only 2 sports that make money. In all of college, the only 2 sports that they call them revenue generating, the only 2 sports that make money are football and basketball. Football is king. Football makes more money than any other sport. Football funds the majority of college athletics. And so,
and the whole school.
What people understand that we don't understand, that the majority of the people who make the money for the NCAA, for Fox, for the Big Ten Network, for ABC, for ESPN, are Black boys and Black girls who come from single parent homes, who are often lower socioeconomics. So if a person is a rabid football fan, and they already know that the majority of the football team is Black. They already know that. But they still want to see that little Black boy or that little Black girl, because they're repping their school. Schools have done a phenomenal job using athletes to build the brand of the school. The catch is that athletes have no idea how to leverage the brand of the school to build their own brand. But I digress. So what you do not see outright is racism, because people in business understand that the sports that get the most eyes, the sports that make the most money, are populated by Black boys and Black girls. Now, where you can see a clear cut of favoritism, but it doesn't necessarily impact coins, is look at Caitlin Clark right now. But it really doesn't impact coins, because there's enough money for everyone. But you can see the leaning. People understand that white folks are the majority. No disrespect. It's just statistically true. And white people like it when white people do well in sports, especially when white people do well in sports that are dominated by Black bodies. No disrespect. Caitlin Clark is a boss. She's a beast. She's a monster. But people understand that representation matters, and representation doesn't only matter when it's Black people. It matters anytime. So there are millions of little girls looking up to Caitlin Clark saying, I can be her. And they are telling their mamas and daddies, I'm gonna need a ticket, I'm gonna need you to watch. And so that comes out in the dollars. But by and large, if you look at who's getting the biggest contracts when it comes to name, image, and likeness, it's football players, and football players are predominantly Black. So no, it's who can sell the product. That's what they care about. Who can sell the product?
Oh my God. So I knew you was getting ready to come on this podcast and absolutely kill it and give the people what they needed to hear. But you didn't already. So we got 10 minutes left. So you done brought up Caitlin. So let's go ahead and transition these last 10 minutes into this Final Four for this weekend. Who you got?
Okay. So South Carolina taking it all, because Dawn Staley is my girl.
Mine too.
I'm going to say, I think now I love Caitlin, but Paige is a bucket.
Paige is the beat. Listen, when I heard Paige's SB speech about what she said about Black girls, sis, I'm a fan. You hear me? Plus, I would like to see Paige and Caitlin guarding each other.
I don't know, Gina. Listen,
I don't think
the coaching
Caitlin can guard Paige, but I think Paige can guard Caitlin because I'm like Gino. Gino says that he felt like that Paige was the best player. I think Paige is a better player than Caitlin. The only thing that Caitlin has over Paige is her range.
3-point range. But
it's her 3-point range.
But
yes. But everything else, her and Paige is right there together.
No, Paige is a better defender.
And Paige is a better defender because Caitlin don't play no defense. None.
And for me, the difference maker is Gino himself. Sheer coaching.
Yes.
Gino is unmatched. Like, he is really good. I mean, he's 26 appearances, 11 national championships. You can't take anything away. Technically, if you look at the number of bodies, UConn actually should have lost because they don't have it. They're not a deep bench. He's doing more
because he's got. I mean, even Paige said it the other day. They had 78 points sitting on the bench because of all of the injuries. But there's one thing I want to bring to people's attention, and I don't know if anybody know that, is that Caitlin wanted to go to UConn.
Yeah, I saw that.
And Gino didn't have nothing to do with her. But I'm thinking Gino probably saw that body language that we see.
Caitlin and Paige were neck and neck. He was recruiting Paige.
He was recruiting Paige, and Caitlin was there?
No, he never recruited Caitlin because he was recruiting Paige.
Because he was recruiting Paige. And they're the same purpose, and they're the same player.
Well, not only the same player, but coming out of high school, Paige was actually higher ranked
than Caitlin was. Yeah, because I'm not gonna lie, I didn't hear about Caitlin until she beat South Carolina last year in the what was the Final Four. Yeah, I didn't know who she was. I knew who Paige was
because Paige is a bucket. Paige buckets.
I knew who Paige was. I had no idea. Again, and I'm a basketball fan, so I didn't find out who Caitlin was until last year when she knocked South Carolina out in the Final Four last year, and so then I was like impressed. But then when I've seen her all the whining, she has that entitlement mentality. If Gino was recruiting her, he would have saw that body language, and he would have saw that. And again, this is like 4 years later. Now, if she's still doing that now, here 4 years later, I can't imagine where she was 4 or 5 years ago when she was still in high school with a little less maturity. How bad she might have been a couple of years ago. And there's no way Gino would have tolerated that or had recruited her in the first place. But when I tell you I'm a fan of Gino, yeah, I'm a fan of Gino. So I honestly, okay. So who do you want to win out of UConn and Iowa?
I'm rooting for Paige. I'm rooting for Paige.
I'm rooting for Paige.
Remember, she tore her ACL last year, so she didn't get to play.
Right.
And so I want her. Now I don't want her to win it all. I want her to lose the Don, but I at least want her.
I want her to lose the Don, but I want her to beat. But I want her to beat Caitlin.
I want her to make it to the
absolutely. And so, and then the thing about that too is, I don't know. I can't wait for the freaking head to head. I can't wait for the head to head. But I want the same exact thing. I want Paige to beat her, but if she makes it but I won't be surprised if Paige gets in foul trouble or UConn gets in foul trouble, because I feel that there's an agenda that society wants Caitlin to win a national championship.
So I want good things for Paige, because last year was supposed to be her breakout year, and then she had an injury and she had to sit a whole year. I'm a huge proponent of when an athlete comes back from an injury, I want them to win it all except for Dawn. Now, if she wasn't going to play Dawn, then I'd be like,
it's a totally different. Then it's a totally different, right? Then it's a totally different thing.
If she didn't have to go through Dawn, I would be like,
it's a totally different thing. Oh yeah, we would have a different conversation if Dawn wasn't in the championship, wasn't undefeated and the number one team. It would be a
I'm
different
just a
conversation.
huge proponent. Like UConn, they had, I think, maybe 3 or 4 ACL tears last year, and I
Yes,
just
she's
feel like
got like 5 people. He's got like 5 injuries on the bench right now.
and I'm looking at Gino. Something is going on in his nutrition. Something is going on in his strength and conditioning. Something he need a new performance coach. Because something ain't right. Because this is the second year in a row. I just want Paige to end on a high note. The highest of notes under Dawn. No disrespect to Caitlin. I think Caitlin is a huge competitor. I think that she will get. She needs to grow some portions of her game. Partially, it's emotion. Sometimes she lets her emotion gets the best of her.
Mhm.
I just think she's amazing. But a couple like just last week, her dad was telling her to shut up from the
Even her
stands.
dad was telling her to shut up. Right.
And
Exactly.
I think that for me, taking that to the WNBA, part of maturity is having a strategy and knowing which players are emotional. So if you don't get a handle on that emotionalism, when you go to the next level, they're going to exploit it, and it will. You're not going to be able to have your way in certain instances. They're like, I felt bad for Haley Van Lith. I just really felt bad for her. So it's a different environment when she goes to the WNBA. And I think for me, the right
And I think
person.
that's what Cheryl Suits was saying. She wasn't trying to dog her. She just said that once they get there, I think Mr. Brown is talking about Paige Becker's SB speech.
Yeah, it was
But you've
phenomenal.
heard it. You've heard
I've
it.
listened
Yeah,
to it.
you've
It's
heard it.
phenomenal.
Yeah.
I just for me,
Um,
and that's the part people don't want to recognize. When people say she is the best college player in history, I'm like, y'all can't have watched Cheryl Miller. Y'all cannot have watched
come on. Ain't no
Shamika
way.
Holdsclaw, Tamika Catching, Cheryl Swoop, like Lisa Leslie. Like, there's so many people you
Even
can.
Diana Taurasi. I mean, she just broke her 3-point record, but how come you wasn't talking about Diana making the record in the first? And how long has Diana been gone?
And
Come on.
she still doesn't
And
have
don't Diana got like 3 championships in a row? Didn't she go 3
she
years in a row with a
doesn't
championship?
have
Come on.
the accolades of Breonna Stewart, which
Or
is
Breonna Stewart. Come
3 in a
on.
row. Like, I just be looking at that like she's good. She's one of
She's
the
good.
she's a really
But
great
there's a
player.
whole lot of players that y'all should have been talking about the same way that you should be talking about her now. We've had good players like Caitlin Clark already. Y'all acting like this the first time that we've had a good female basketball player that can come in and play and that can shoot lights out or whatever. The only thing that's setting her apart is that she's taking 2 steps across half court and she's launching and making it. It's the only
But,
difference. She's
but
shooting like Steph Curry. That's the only thing that sets her apart. But she don't play no defense. And exactly, Mr. Brown. He even Holdsclaw. Come on, you're not getting it. Come on. Yes, there's so many players that have come before her. Maya Moore, that they should have talked that the social media or media should be talking about, or
Maya,
bringing back to Maya Moore. Come on,
so
that
amazing.
player, that media should be okay. Well, what about? I mean, we should be reviving people and bringing to remembrance making a lot of these other female players relevant again, because y'all have forgotten about them, or maybe y'all wasn't paying attention to girls basketball in the past. But no, we've had many, many, many good female players that came before Caitlin Clark. Y'all acting like she's the first.
It's recency bias. Just because you just started watching the WNBA or you just started. Listen, Mr. Brown, Shamika Holdsclaw was the.
Oh, Della Dawn is bad.
I mean,
Yes.
even Kara Lawson, please stop. Like, please stop.
Yes.
Just because you are new to women's basketball doesn't mean
Valerie
we
Steele
are
at
new
UK. Yes. Come
are
on.
new. There's just so many good ones. And it's like, I get that you love her and she's
Yes.
amazing. She may be the best offensive player. But the funny
But
thing
she's not
is,
the best. No.
but
She
but
don't play
here's the
no
thing though.
defense.
If Juju Watkins stays at USC all 4 years and she continues to,
She's gonna break her record.
yeah, because she's already broken her
Already
freshman.
broke her freshman record.
Yeah. So if Juju just keeps doing, if she has it every look, if she just keeps performing in exactly the same way. And Juju's going to get better. True freshman. She's going to get better. So she's on pace. People are like, it'll never happen in our lifetime. Please. Juju could do it in the next 3. But
Definitely
the
can.
girl's amazing. Like
She
Caitlin Clark,
definitely can.
great to watch.
Love Caitlin.
She's a
Love
hustler.
Caitlin. We're not taking nothing away from her, but just stop. If people could just stop acting like this is the first time y'all have seen a female basketball player that can just ball out, that can just flat out ball out. So what did you think about the offer to Ice Cube's league?
He's not stupid. He's a businessman. He's being a businessman because he's understanding that it's not just if you get Caitlin, you get all those eyeballs.
Mm-hmm.
You get all those people. I mean, there are
you
people
get a new set of eyeballs, just like what happened with Kansas City with Taylor Swift.
Yep.
You get a whole new set of eyeballs.
I think it's a mixed league, so she'll have the opportunity to play against men to a certain extent. Like again, it's a very good business decision. It's clearly $5 million is more than the starting salary for the
$5,000 at the WNBA that she's going to get.
But he's understanding when I said representation matters. You get all those eyeballs, all those little girls who want to grow up to be Caitlin Clark. They will come and watch. They're going to do something. They're going to find, you're going to sell tickets. You're going to have more eyeballs. You'll be able to get more ad money because the more people that watch, the more you can charge advertising. I mean, it's a win. It's a winning situation if she does it. I do not believe that she will. There is playing in the WNBA amongst the tall trees and solidifying a legacy, and then they're saying I'm going to go and be a pioneer. She'll be in it. She'll be in the WNBA because if she plays her cards right, her endorsement money is going to be more than $5 million.
Facts. If they're not already there now,
it's probably more than that now because she's got State Farm. She's going to make a killing. She's the only, if I'm not mistaken, just to let you know how recency bias works. She's the only college basketball player on the women's side who is a part of the U.S. Olympic team. Don't forget the Olympics is next year, I think.
Yeah.
And so,
but the tryout, because of the Final Four, she's going to miss the tryouts though.
Oh, but she's on the finals.
They'll still put her on the roster. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think.
What about Angel Reese's WNBA future? So just today, Angel Reese declared for the draft.
Very artful. I loved it. I loved the announcement. I'm a fan. I loved it. Now I think that she's going to be like everybody. She is aware that she needs to develop. That's the one thing I like about Angel Reese. She has never said, neither has Caitlin Clark for that matter. Neither of them have said we're going to go to the WNBA and we're going to make everything shake. Neither of the young ladies have said that they are going to change the face of the WNBA. They have said they're growing the sport, which is true. I think that Angel Reese is going to get on a team, and that team is going to take some time to develop her, and she's going to be really great. She's already said that her goal is to be the greatest player ever in the WNBA. That's a lofty goal. She has a great work ethic. She really needs a coaching. She needs a Dawn. It is my prayer that she gets when she gets to the WNBA, because she's been beaten up so much outside of the game.
Yes.
She needs to get a Dawn who can protect her and really allow her to grow. If she played at South Carolina, I think that her game would be.
And it's crazy that South Carolina during her recruitment was one of the options.
Sometimes
she didn't go. But it also made me think that maybe she didn't think that she can compete with Cardosa. But I don't know where she was on Dawn's board and relative to, it's kind of like football. You don't know, you got to know where during the recruiting process, you got to know where you are on the board on who they feel like is the best fit. And if Angel was the second or the third choice after Cardosa, or was Cardosa the second or third choice after Angel Reese? And Angel Reese decided to stay home in Maryland. And then she decided, and then even when she went into the portal, I still think South Carolina might have still been on the table, but she chose LSU because she wanted to go to a coach that she thought that could develop her and get her to the next level and prepare her for the WNBA.
She may have not been a starter if she was on. You just have to think Aaliyah Boston. They had Dawn's team.
They had so many bigs, yes. So she would have had to play with Aaliyah Boston and Cardoza on the bench. So yeah, you don't know
You
that
know,
was.
just think. Did you hear?
But you got to think, so even on Dawn's bench now, Malaysia Fieldwally is going to start anywhere else. If she was on anybody else's team, she would not be coming off the bench.
I want you to say, Killer Cam, Miss Cardoza. Did we hear her name last year?
Had no idea who the heck she was
there. So
because she was behind Aaliyah Boston.
About how
and behind Asia. Asia just left 3 years ago.
You have to think about that. Angel Reese really, had she gone to South Carolina,
she'd have been on the bench.
Not have been able to play at all. It takes special people to be unselfish, to rotate. You know who's not getting the credit they deserve? Dawn Staley. Dawn Staley is not. I remember when South Carolina lost to Iowa last year, how people were like, they're not going to make it to the final. They're not going to make it to the championship. They're going to suck. They're not going to be a good team. They're going to have a losing record. And here she is, undefeated.
With a whole new starting five.
Yep. Undefeated. 2 years. Undefeated. In conference play, conference championships. She's done something that has seldom. As a matter of fact, she's the only NCAA coach, male or female, to actually go back to back and be undefeated, and to be undefeated in 2 back-to-back years. We're not celebrating that. We're not talking about.
I thought Gino did it.
Mm-mm. Now he's won back-to-back national championships, but
he wasn't undefeated.
Undefeated back-to-back 2 years. Only Dawn has done that. Even Roy Williams hasn't done that. Dean Smith never did that.
Yeah, none of them have done
that. And I think about the fact that she's not given credit for what she's done. I remember them. The North remembers. I remember them saying she was going to be sorry. I remember them saying South Carolina's going to be terrible. I remember them saying they were never going to get back to the championship. They're not even going to win that conference. She's undefeated. Please respect her mind. Please put some respect on Dawn Staley's
Absolutely. Name. Absolutely. Well, we're over the time. I knew we was gonna set it off today. I knew it was gonna be absolutely fantastic conversation today. Thank you for bringing your knowledge, as usual, guys. Hold on, let me put this. I'm gonna put her link on here. Listen, here's her link tree. Here's her link. So if you need any type of help with learning about NIL, learning the basics about how to set your student athlete up for success, to put them in position to be able to get a college scholarship, she has go to her link tree, and she's got a link on there for, I think, some classes, and a couple of them are for the free 99. I definitely tell you to please sign up for those classes, because you are going to get so many. Look at all the nuggets that you got just tonight for free. So imagine what you're going to get by being able to go to one of her classes. Absolutely phenomenal. And then the ones that you have to pay for, you're going to set your child up for success if they are a student athlete. Jamesetta, thank you, sis.
Okay,
I just saw the schedule. Let me see. No, we back at Vandy next year.
Okay, I'll be here.
And we'll back at Vandy. But I introduced you to my cousin, so she'll be on next Wednesday. And so my cousin Jadarius Sneed is at Nashville, so I probably will be down to Nashville, and so that we can all meet up with him. And so I know I'm gonna see your face here pretty soon.
Yeah, and I just want to say this. I'm gonna announce it here first. Save the date, July 13th and 14th. I'm gonna do a name, image, and likeness conference for all levels, high school through professional. Fun fact, professional athletes don't take advantage of their name, image, and likeness either. It's going to be in person here in Nashville, Tennessee. So save the date. You'll see the link to pre-register coming out in the next week or so, but save the date. And if you're in Detroit for the draft, I'm doing it is The draft is April the 25th through the 27th. And on April the 26th, I'm doing an event for fathers. It's a fatherhood initiative in Detroit. I actually do have the link for that. I forgot to give it to you, but I'll send it to you. And we would like as many people to come out as possible. My keynote speaker is Terrence Parsons, Micah Parsons' father. We're going to talk about the importance of fathers, and there's some other speakers that are going to talk about their experience as single fathers, and as fathers of athletes, and why it's important for fathers to be involved. We're going to be collecting things like books, diapers, wipes for people who come, because we want to be able to bless some single fathers in the Detroit area with things that they need for their babies. So I'll make sure that you guys all get that information. But if you're in Detroit for the draft, we'd love to have you. Pull up. We're going to have a great time.
So April 27th is my first game, and we'll be at Grand Rapids. So we'll be up the road. Okay. I might have to see if I can go a couple of days early, since you're going to be up there that time. I might be able to come up. I might come up that night before or something like that to see, to kind of just tag in on that. So I have some cousins that are in Detroit, and they're in the sports community too. So I need to make sure that I put you on with them, so that you can connect with him, because one of them is actually he helps recruit and help get kids in school as well. So he could be another resource for you. So yes, thank you, ma'am. I appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you. And so, guys, everybody, if you guys go to YouTube, hitsandheels.com. Oh, it's up at the top on this little banner right here. And subscribe. If you're on Facebook, thank y'all for coming in. Mr. Alvin Brown, thank you for coming on and coming with great questions as usual. Mr. Girton, thank you for coming on. And everybody else, I see a lot of people on. I can't see y'all's names, but I know that you guys are there. Thank you all for tuning in, and I appreciate you. Make sure that you share and like and comment. And if you know any sports parents, make sure that you share this with them, because they need to get the information from Jamesetta. When I tell you that she is the guru when it comes to NIL and branding your child and getting them and helping you to set them up for success, she was my go-to when we were going through the process with Ty. She was one of her and Coach Prince, who was a NFL and NCAA coach, were my two resources that I used, or that we used, for my family to help us through the process when Ty was going through the recruiting process. So with that being said, I'll see you all next week when we have my cousin James Sneed on. So if you're a Kansas City fan, make sure you tune in. Or a Kansas City fan and a Titans fan, make sure you tune in next week. Love y'all. Y'all have a good one.
You too.
Hey, don't log off, babe. Don't log off.
Okay.
I'm ending it.